In 2023, we came here to Willow Springs International Raceway to drive what was arguably the fastest electric car around any race circuit, a highly modified Tesla Model S, known as Dark Helmet.
With its huge wing, slick tires and stripped out interior, it set the fastest ever lap time around this circuit. One slight downside is that Dark Helmet isn't strictly road legal, but that got Unplugged Performance thinking. What if they dialed back the insanity slightly and created a tame version that was still capable on track, usable on the road, while still maintaining that air of menace that Dark Helmet was famous for? This is Dark Knight, son of Dark Helmet, a highly modified Tesla Model S that's had a major glow-up. The main upgrade is a 19-piece carbon fiber wide body kit that increases the width of the car by 60mm. The front has a large optional splitter. Down the sides we have wider fenders to accommodate some huge lightweight forged monoblock wheels, with 285/30/20s up front and 305/30/21 Pilot Sport S tires at the back. It has huge carbon ceramic brakes on all four corners, with a special cooling duct channeling air into the front discs and pads, plus a fantastic looking integrated barge board at the front to improve airflow. The arches are beefed up, there's a custom rear diffuser and a subtle carbon long-tail spoiler.
Usually, modified cars don't come with the blessing of the people whose cars are being modified, but in a weird kind of way, this Dark Knight has the blessing of Tesla. So the Model S, and in fact all Teslas, were designed by a guy called Franz von Holzhausen. And Franz has a side hustle called von Holzhausen, which basically involves creating sustainably sourced materials. And the interior of Dark Knight is covered in Franz creations. So the seats, the center console, this trim, the dashboard, the door cards are all finished in a material called Banbū, which is derived from the most sustainable material in the world, Banbū. What's it like? Well, it's pretty decent, I suppose, but it's not the most impressive leather I've seen in the world. I wouldn't even say that it's much better than the standard fake leather you get in the ordinary Model S. I also have a bit of a problem with creating fake leather in the first place. If you're trying to be all sustainable, what's the point in covering your car interior in fake dead animal skin? Do something different. Be creative. So what's it like to drive? Well, actually, this is the first time ever I've driven a Model S with a yoke. I've driven the Cybertruck with a yoke, and actually that works really well because it's super responsive and it has the adaptive steering rack. But in this, it's a bit naff really, because you end up having to do loads of locks on the wheel, and then you've got no wheel at the top of the wheel, so you end up looking like a bit of an idiot, especially when you're parallel parking. On the road, it's fine, but they seem to have reinvented the wheel for no real benefit, other than it looking quite cool. The car feels quite similar to the standard Model S Plaid, but then you'd expect that, with the main difference being the suspension. They've thrown on a lowering kit, so you can definitely feel that it's slightly less suspension travel than you get in the standard Model S Plaid. The ride actually isn't too harsh, but one thing you do have to worry about is that front splitter. It's super low, so whenever you're going into a parking garage or up onto a steep driveway, you'll want to raise the ride height as high as you can to make sure you don't smash it to pieces. Annoyingly, the Model S suspension is quite slow to go up and down. It could have done with a dedicated high-speed nose lift, but you can opt to not have that front splitter. Wouldn't recommend it though, because it looks awesome. Tell you what else is good, the brakes. Finally, we've got some. This is a really heavy car, and if you drive it quickly and have to pound on the brakes to come to a standstill, well, let's just say smoke can happen. Ask me how I know. But in this, with the carbon ceramics, it actually stops really well, and there's good brake feel too. Overall, I'd say that Dark Knight is definitely road approved. You can daily this car, no problem. I was slightly concerned that they might have made it a bit too hardcore, but that's not the case at all. This drives really well.
It's road approved then. But Dark Knight is based on Dark Helmet, which means it's also designed for track days. So with that in mind, we took it to stretch its legs on the hugely fast and demanding Willow Springs International Raceway.
So obviously, we all know about the standard Tesla party trick. Ridiculous, mind-bending acceleration. I always forget about that when I get in these cars, and you press the throttle and it just teleports into another dimension. And that is here in spades in the Dark Knight. Wow! But we are here at Willow Springs, the exact same place where I drove its big brother, Dark Helmet. We know the big dog was amazing around here, so what is its little brother like on the same circuit? Okay, first things first, there isn't a terrific amount of steering feel from the front. You carry a lot of speed into the corners and you turn in and you're not instantly sure what level of grip you're getting, apart from the fact that you are getting lots of it. So I would like a little bit more feedback from the front end. It is worth saying though that the turn-in is very impressive and the steering is so direct. A lot of its rivals use rear-wheel steering to achieve better turn-in. That's not available on Teslas, but the Model S Plaid does have a pretty unique trick up its sleeve. Because it uses 3 motors, 2 at the rear, it can use torque vectoring when you're in track mode to accelerate the outside wheel and slow down the torque on the inside wheel just to get you rotated in the bends, and it works incredibly well. Rather playful.
You might not consider a Tesla to be track suitable, but Dark Knight has a suite of upgrades that help it maintain composure on track. These include custom suspension parts from Unplugged Performance, such as new upper and lower control arms, rear toe arms, a strut brace in the trunk, and a 3-way adjustable anti-roll bar.
So the yoke is interesting on track. You've got to maintain quite a grip on this thing, because if you let it go, it's going to be all over the place. And counter steering with it, if the back end does step out, is going to be, well, interesting, shall we say. So you've got to really maintain a grip on this thing, otherwise you might be in trouble. One of the things most vividly in my memory from driving Dark Helmet around here was coming around turn 9 at stupidly fast speeds. So much grip in that car, mainly because of the huge wing, loads of downforce, but also because it used slicks. Obviously Dark Knight is a road car, so we're not using slicks today, but we do have some fat Michelin Pilot Sport 4S's, 285s up front, 305s at the back, and the grip is actually very, very impressive, despite the weight of this thing. Look at that, carrying a ton of speed around this big right-hander. And on the pedal, this is genuinely nuts performance. The thing is more than capable in the corners, and then you get on a straight, you just hammer it, and it reminds you of the bonkers straight line speed. 0 to 62, 2.1 seconds, 0 to 100, 4.1, 0 to 130 in under 7 seconds. This is supercar slaying performance. Let's see what the brakes are like. Carbon ceramics. Yeah, terrific stopping power. When you're in track mode, you get a bit more from the regenerative braking to actually assist in slowing you down, and also to improve the pedal feel, and the strength of the brakes is just excellent.
Is it as good as Tesla's own Model S track package? Not where top speed is concerned. That car can crack 200 miles per hour, while this is restricted to the Plaid's max speed of 162. The jury's out on how well it corners too. For me, the track package felt slightly more composed, but because everything on Dark Knight is adjustable, getting it to that sweet spot shouldn't be difficult.
One of the biggest drawbacks with this car, and a drawback that I kind of hoped Unplugged would address, are these seats, which are frankly terrible for driving on a circuit. There is absolutely no support, so you end up kind of leaning against the window or bracing yourself so hard because you're in fear of falling into the passenger seat. They do not support you at all in this car, and Yeah, this car deserves better seats, definitely. If you buy one of these cars, have a look into getting some bucket seats because they will improve your experience no end. The S Plaid has always been a supremely impressive car. More impressive than a lot of people give it credit for, and not just in terms of its straight line performance. The chassis balance and the amount of fun you can have with it on a race circuit, if you're brave enough to take it there, are actually very commendable. And Unplugged Performance have taken it to the next level with the Dark Knight. This is a lot of fun. It looks mean, it goes like stink, and is so much fun to drive. I kind of want one.